Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our bottom left-hand corner, Deskana, our yellow Protoss, and in the top right we have Terran, our periwinkle Terran. Not a typo, he's just Terran. Deskana is in Masters, Terran is in very low Diamond. This is not on the ladder match, and I think we're on Cloud Kingdom, unless I'm very much mistaken. It's one of those fancy Cloud Kingdoms because we have the supply depot at the bottom. And that's basically it. I mean, it's Terran versus Protoss. It's going to be fun, regardless of the skill gap. We do see the pylon going down from Deskana. He's not going to be trying for any Forge Fast Expand or anything like that. Cloud Kingdom is a moderately sized map, but it's longer because of the rush distance. You do have to kind of traverse up and down the hills and go through several different chokes before eventually winding up at the base. So it is possible to go for a fast expo, but against Terran or against Protoss, it's hard to do that when you're one of the slower races. Traditionally, we see that with, you know, like the Protoss players and whatnot. But yeah, Terran is transitioning along to the expected pathway. He's got his SCV waiting to drop his barracks right by the supply depot, so we're probably going to see that traditional wall off, but it's not going to be up in time to prevent Deskana from getting in a probe. And what's that probe going to see? There's not been any gas tapped just yet, and we're not even at the 2-minute mark, so this is not the most earth-shattering of scouts ever, because, you know, there's nothing really to see. But if you do get in there and see that there's a gas up early, or that the barracks is not in fact there, maybe even a CC going down on the low ground, that can tell you quite a bit. I can also tell you something that Terran hasn't moved out with any scouting SCV of any kind to scout that one gas has been tapped and one gateway is underway. Probably going to see a cybernetics core right up on top of that gateway in short order, as well as the gas begin to get mined. The probe is leaving, getting chased away by that SCV, and he's starting to bank quite a bit of money. Will that money be spent on an orbital command from the CC first? Maybe an add-on of some sort, maybe some gas, or maybe it's going to be a command center down on the low ground. Only time will tell. Pesky probe from Deskana has returned though and is chasing that SCV pretty much all the way across the map. That's probably going to be a scout for Terran later on. And there's that cybernetics core I was talking about. The gas income is beginning to climb for Deskana. It's going to have plenty of gas to get that warp gate tech underway and probably get those higher units out later on. You know, later on. Terran is building that command center down on the low ground. Still no tech add-on for the barracks, and no gas being grabbed for him either. So if there's going to be a tech play or any aggression of any kind, it's going to be very much delayed, because a lot of minerals are going to be spent in this command center to get this place fully saturated. I mean, check out that harvester gap right now, 16/20. Deskana chrono boosting out plenty of probes. Oh, but he's transitioning over to a different sort of chrono boost. He's working on that tech, rather the warp gate tech. Will that signify some aggression from him? I mean, he did get in there to see that nothing else had gone up. More importantly, that no gas had been grabbed, and there was no factory or add-on on the barracks whenever he was leaving, which can tell you quite a bit. And it could be pretty safe to assume that a command center was going to be underway in relatively short order. And because of that, this chrono boost going down on the cybernetics core, if we see more chrono boosts being spent on that rather than the stalker that we see here, it could signify some sort of aggression. Maybe just a delayed foregate could be very devastating. I mean, we do see the bunker going up on the low ground right next to the command center, and it's going to be very strategically placed. I mean, it's going to be very good at defending them, but good control there by Deskana, trying to snipe off one of those Terrans, but those Marines, they just bundle up in that bunker. They don't have anything to worry about. Quite a lot of floating money from both players. What does that signify? It looks like it's going to be a Nexus from Deskana down on the low ground. But where's that extra money going for Terran? He's got over 400 minerals. He's tapped 2 gas right now. Probably going to be an add-on in the barracks and maybe a handful more unit-producing structures. Another bunker. Man, you really expect to see at least another barracks at this time. Or with all that money saved up, a macro command center of some sort? I don't know. Maybe a factory. There goes the factory. Fantastic. Factory right on top of the barracks. Probably going to see a tech lab or a reactor, depending on what pathway Terran decides to go. It's probably not going to be Hellions, because Hellions are really bad against Protoss, unless you can micro them perfectly and get in there and hit that mineral line, or if Protoss is going for some sort of crazy 3-base play, but it's not going to happen. We see a robotics facility coming up from Deskana, as well as a second gateways. Immediately starts up on that observer, which is going to just be absolutely crucial for him, because his, like I said, his scout was very much late. doesn't really know about this expansion. I mean, again, he saw the bunker. He knows about the expansion. But he doesn't know what's going on in there, especially that the third gas has been tapped. That factory is going down, canceling the reactor, starting the tech lab, and a starport going up right on top of it. So it looks like it's going to be a 1-1-1 build out of Terran with an armory already on the way. So, you know, I've seen this build before, actually. It's probably going to be a bunch of Banshees coming out of the starport, and the armory signifies it's going to be a heavy Thor push later on. Produce 3 or 4 Banshees over time, and then once you get that 4th Banshee up, you continually produce Thors off of 2 or 3 factories, and you get a critical mass of Thors. Pull all your SCVs, drop a bunch of mules while you're doing it to repair them up, and you have this 1-2 punch of all the Banshees doing some economic damage, keeping Protoss contained, and then the Thors coming in later on just to steamroll a stunted Protoss economy. And it's very, very devastating. There goes the cloak. Absolutely fantastic for the Banshees. And another factory should be getting thrown down in relatively short order. A barracks is coming out. A crucial scout from Deskana moving in with his observer. This is going to show him absolutely everything he needs to see the factory. Scouted with the tech lab as well as a starport working on something in the tech lab is going to know that that's going to be cloak. Yeah, the Ravens have gotten a recent buff that makes them very powerful, but the power of a Banshee is far, far more devastating than the power of a mere Raven or two. I mean, yeah, they have that Hunter-Seeker missile, but pound for pound, you know, nobody screws you like a Banshee. 4th refinery coming out for Terran. He's going to have an absolutely kick-ass economy. Speaking of economy, switch that up. 42 to 44 for the Harvester counties. Definitely close that gap. I'd love to see another orbital command being thrown down by Terran. He's floating quite a bit of money. And what exactly do we have as far as unit producing structures? Two barracks, both with reactors. Tech lab on both starport and factory, and then the +1 armor going up for Terran mech, I guess. First Banshee is out. Cloak will be finished in just a matter of seconds. It's going to be able to hit this mineral line pretty much completely undefended. We have the robotics facility with a Colossus queued up and a hidden robotics bay in the bottom left-hand corner working on the extended thermal lances. So that's going to be absolutely fantastic. Not a lot of stalkers mixed in here for Deskana, so he's not going to have a lot of anti-air, but 4 stalkers, I think it's 6 of them are needed to one-shot a Banshee, so just 2 volleys can definitely take them down. We've already seen that an observer is out on the field. However, I think that observer is completely on the other side of the map. No, the second observer is out. Oh, there we go. So the Banshee is doing work down in the mineral field. He's gotten 4 kills already, 5 kills. The stalkers react very, very quickly. However, the observer is nowhere to be seen. He's coming down from the main army very slow, trundling around, giving the Banshee plenty of time to pull back, pull out, and just wait by the mineral line. Deskana he's kind of in an uncomfortable situation here. You really want to just throw down a single photon cannon right here to do some static detection, pull your stalkers back so they can be with the main army. But what do we have coming out from Terran? I mean, he doesn't have a huge ground army just yet. He has produced a single Raven, 2 Thors, and a lot of unupgraded Marines. We don't see combat shield or stem. In fact, with a 3rd reactor being added onto the barracks, he really needs to get a tech lab on one of these barracks. Really needs to get combat shield more than anything else, because the AoE damage of those Colossus can absolutely chew through unupgraded Marines like no one else's business. Nice placement here by Deskana, having a preemptive observer on the north side of expansion. Hasn't seen that Banshee in quite a while, so he knows that this could be the second area that he's going to get attacked. Banshee coming in on an A move attack move command, not going to be able to target down any of those probes in that area, and gets pulled back just out of the range of the observer. At the same time, the Banshee making itself known, checking out that 3rd, which is just now going to get thrown down by Deskana. Look at all that money that Terran is floating currently, and he's producing up quite an intimidating force. He's got a lot of extra money, not a lot of extra gas, enough extra gas that he could justify spending it on some upgrades for these Marines. This was probably the Marine that took a little bit of damage earlier jumping into that bunker, and these Marines could represent a very intimidating force if they had stem and combat shield. But as things are now, unupgraded with Templar Archive on the way, there's going to be so much AoE damage represented here in Deskana's army. If he can get those High Templars out with enough storm, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Banshee cloaked, but within range of that observer up on the hill there is kind of sandwiched between 2 bundles of joy of those stalkers. But this does give free reign to the other Banshee, which is floating over here, even though it's an incredibly weakened stake, and there are a couple of sentries nearby to do a little bit of tickle damage. They'll still be, still be pretty powerful. Zealot scouting around, scouts that the third has not gone up at all, so Deskana is going to be in a very strong economic state if he can get this third up, if he can protect it. 56 over 42 harvesters, though, and with that mule count, you can see that Terran has a fantastic mineral reserve. He's got over 2k, and with that, he's beginning to move out. Remember, these Marines have absolutely no upgrades, no armor, no weapons, no stim, combat shield, nothing. And these two Thors, I wonder what they're doing. They're just kind of hanging around up on top of the ramp. A single Raven just for good measure, some static detection to scout down those observers, and then a couple of Banshees. These Banshees can represent quite a lot of damage per second. This is a very powerful build, one done properly. But I think Terran has missed a bunch of steps on this. Pulling the SCVs like a good guy he should. I mean, you got to repair those Thors up. He's got the +2 vehicle weapons, but all that AoE is just going to splash around them and chew up all these unupgraded Marines, and all that money could be spent on other things, a couple more Thors, some more tech, something else, or even just some upgrades to make those Marines a little bit more of a threat. Throw in a medevac for good measure so you can do some drops instead of some Banshee harass. It's a different build than the one he's trying to do, but it would be a hell of a lot more effective. And then what do we have waiting for him? A huge wall of Zealots. They're going to get eaten up pretty quickly by the Thors as well as the Marines, but the AoE represents the real threat here. Watch for the storms. Here comes the push. Terran trying to squeeze through the destructible debris, not taking down the destructible debris to open up that choke. Gets caught in the choke. The storms fall. Oh my goodness. Absolutely devastating. Just like that, only the Thors remain with a handful, just a handful of Marines left on the ground. Look at that resources lost tab. The Banshees going pretty much unaccosted on all the Templars, but finally an observer arrives with the support from the Stalkers. They get cleaned up very, very shortly. An Immortal taking the damage from the Thors as the Colossus. I don't think he lost a single Colossus in that entire engagement. Absolutely brutal. Oh, that's brutal. I've seen this build done from Terran a lot, and it is absolutely fantastic. Deskana seems to have just gotten a nice composition up, a lot of different units, not really capitalizing on a specific thing, but having this really nice late game composition pretty early. I mean, 16-minute mark, 3 Colossus, a High Templar tech, Archons on the way, plenty of Immortals to boot. Kind of slipped on the upgrades, just, I don't know, slip is not really the right term, but could maybe incorporate that into the build later on as far as the upgrades are concerned, specifically the blink for the Stalkers so you can counter the Banshee play, but the charge on the Zealots make them incredibly valuable, and really that's what you really want to rely on, is that death ball with this sort of build. And then Terran, man, if you're going to throw that many Marines into the mix, you absolutely have to get upgrades, otherwise it's just useless, it's wasted supply. Congratulations, you moved out with like 160, 170 supply, but half of it was in useless supply. You left a couple of Thors behind, actually. Those Thors are absolutely awesome when supported properly, but those Marines against that much AoE is not a lot doing for you. And you guys are doing it for me because you're watching my replay, so that's cool. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary. Bye.